Welcome back, students. Now let's discuss about Bioassay. What is Bioassay? Then what are the principles and indications of Bioassay? Okay. So now let's discuss what is Bioassay. What are the various principles and indications of Bioassay? What is Bioassay? Bioassay is the method of estimating the nature, potency or concentration of an active principle. What is Bioassay? Bioassay is used to find out the nature, potency or concentration of an active principle present in chemical or biological agent such as drugs, hormones, vitamins, toxins and antitoxins by means of biological indicators. Biological indicators like blood pressure, blood glucose, muscle contraction, inhibition of growth of microorganisms present in unit quantity. So what is Bioassay? Bioassay is the method of estimating the nature, potency or concentration of an active principle present in chemical or biological agents such as drugs, hormones, vitamins, toxins and antitoxins by means of biological indicators such as blood pressure, blood glucose, muscle contraction, inhibition of growth of microorganisms which are present in unit quantity. Hope you're clear. So it is different from chemical assay. In chemical assay also we are finding out the potency. Here also we are finding out the potency, but in Bioassay we are using some biological indicator. So what is Bioassay? It's a method of estimating the nature, potency or concentration of an active principle which is present in chemical or biological agents by means of biological indicators. Okay, then what is the main principle of Bioassay is? The main principle of Bioassay is to compare the biological effect of an unknown or test with that of an internationally accepted standard. So the biological effect produced by a test will be compared with that of a universally, internationally accepted standard. That is the principle of Bioassay. What's the main principle of Bioassay? It is main principle of Bioassay is to compare the biological effect or response produced by a test or unknown compound with an internationally accepted standard. Why we have to do like this is to overcome the errors due to biological variation. So what is the principle? The basic principle is to compare the biological effect or response of a test or unknown compound with that of a internationally accepted standard. This is to overcome the error due to biological variation. Next is what are the various indications of Bioassay. When we have to do this Bioassay, when we will be going for Bioassay is when chemical assay method is not available, or when we are doing the chemical Bioassay, the substance will get inactivated. Example is with hormones. So the first indication is when chemical assay methods are not available, and even though chemical methods are available, the product get inactivated during chemical reaction. Example is with hormones. Second is when the quantity of sample is too small. We can't go for doing the chemical assays. The quantity is very small. And the third is the Bioassay method will be sensitive than the chemical assay. Next, to find out the concentration in tissue extracts like acetylcholine, 5-HT, prostaglandin. Then to measure drug toxicity, to measure the pharmacological activity of a drug, and in some condition the chemical composition differ but pharmacological action will be same. Example, cardiac glycoside, catecholamine. In some condition we doesn't know the chemical composition but will have pharmacological action. Example is long acting thyroid stimulants. And finally the active principle cannot be isolated. Example, peptide hormones. So when will we go for doing this Bioassay? First is chemical assay methods are not available. Even though it is available, the product will get inactivated during the chemical reactions. Next, the quantity is very small. Third is Bioassay method is more sensitive than the chemical assay. Then for finding the concentration of active principle present in endogenous mediators like acetylcholine, 5-HT, to find out the drug toxicity, to measure the pharmacological activity of new substance. Then chemical composition differ, but pharmacological activity remain the same. Example, cardiac glycosides and catecholamine. Then the chemical composition is not known, but it is having pharmacological activity, like long-acting thyroid stimulant. If we know the chemical constituents only, then only we can go for doing the chemical assays. And finally, the active principle cannot be isolated. Example is peptide hormone. In that condition, we will be going for doing the bioassay. So, hope you are clear. What is bioassay? Bioassay is the method of estimating the nature, potency or concentration of an active principle present in chemical or biological agents such as drugs, hormones, vitamins, toxins and antitoxins by means of biological indicators like blood pressure, blood glucose, muscle contraction, inhibition of growth of microorganism. Principle is to compare the biological effect of test or unknown with that of a standard internationally accepted standard. This is to overcome the error due to biological variation. Then indication, chemical assay method not available, quantity is small. Then bioassays are sensitive than chemical assay. In tissue extracts like acetylcholine 5-HT tend to measure the drug toxicity, to measure the pharmacological activity of new compound. Then chemical composition differ but pharmacological activity is same, or chemical composition is not known, or when active principle is unknown, we can